Hey, welcome to Pretty Well. Do you want to get to the root causes of your health concerns? Do you find yourself Googling, why do I feel this way? And looking for solutions to feel great again? I'm Lisa Smith, and I too felt exhausted, achy, and like I was aging too quickly. I wanted to look and feel like myself again, and spent way too much time and money going to practitioners, even functional medicine practitioners, and not getting results. So I became a functional medicine practitioner myself and learned how to identify and fix root causes to health issues. The good news is there is so much you can do to reclaim your wellness. In this podcast, you'll find quick, simple, and evidence-based guidance that you can easily fit into your day so your energy will be soaring, your mind clear, and your skin will return to its beautiful glow. Let's dive in.
I remember asking him, can you prevent cancer? And he said, in many cases, you can prevent cancer. And it blew my mind. And I decided then that's what I was going to do. I was going to help people be so healthy that they would never get cancer.
I'm Tiffany Souter, entrepreneur, wife, mom to 4 girls, and a woman figuring it out just like you. If you're tired of living a life of have to and finally ready to build a life of want to, then you're in the right place. Come on, let's go build your life of and. This year has been a year of taking my health just a lot more seriously. Not in a I want to look great in a bikini way, though that might be a great byproduct, but in a way where I want to have the energy of my 25-year-old self and live until I'm 102 kind of way. As I enter these scary perimenopause, menopause years, I'm going to be 45 this year. I've stepped into them with a bit of trepidation, honestly. I'm not medical. I don't know all of these words, all of these acronyms. I'm not reading every book on the New York Times bestsellers about hormone replacement therapies. I really don't understand it all. But conversations like the one that I just had help me remember that we have a lot more of what we can control than what we don't control when we're going through these seasons of figuring out how do we become our healthiest self. So today I'm taking you back to a powerful conversation I had with Lisa Smith. She's a functional medicine expert, a mom, and a host of the Pretty Well podcast. When we talked, I was still very much working through an understanding of all these new words. And my conversation with Lisa was helpful in untangling, at least a little more, all the things so I could take control. Lisa does an incredible job of sharing the one test that she recommends to give you the biggest bang for your buck. There's a million different things that you can do, thousands of vials of blood that can be drawn. And she really brings it down to the one test that she thinks really helps. She talks also about the mindset shift that's going to help you stop crash dieting and the everyday trick that I now use at almost every dinner party to help me feel better in my own body. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Lisa, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Tiffany.
So Lisa, I find that people who are in this line of work got here because there's a story that led them here. So can you walk us through your personal journey or your exposure, or how did you get to the place where this is your passion and this is how you want to help people?
Absolutely. It started when I was little. I'm talking really little, elementary school. My grandfather was a surgeon. He was a cancer surgeon, and he didn't live in our hometown. We would go visit him every Thanksgiving and every Easter. We would never buy the turkey, Tiffany. Patients would bring the turkey. The patients would bring the ham at Easter. And every one of those holidays, someone would say, your grandfather saved my life. Or your grandfather saved my wife's life. And then they would leave, they'd drop off the food, and he would turn to whoever was listening and he would say, I'd so much rather help my patients prevent this horrible disease than try to help them heal after. And that, as a little kid, seemed like magic. I remember asking him, can you prevent cancer? And he said, in many cases, you can prevent cancer. And it blew my mind. And I decided then that's what I was going to do. I was going to help people be so healthy that they would never get cancer. Well, that's what I thought then. Then I took a very deep, very windy road detour into all different things, sales in different industries. And then I had babies. And when I got married and had babies, and when my kids were babies, I got to stay home. And I started realizing that my passion was still to have a private practice and help people be their healthiest that they could possibly be. It broadened beyond cancer because looking at our society, there's so much chronic illness beyond cancer that we can help with, that it just became my single-minded focus in terms of what I wanted to do for a living. So I started doing all the research. I went back to school. I got a couple more degrees and then a couple other certifications, and then became a dietitian, and I opened my practice. And then I started seeing clients and saw massive transformations in life just through some very simple changes. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
There's kind of two things I want to talk about. One is like definitely where to start. I feel like really smart and capable in life, but I would say when it comes to this world of functional medicine and all these different labs and poop tests, and like there's a vocabulary to it that honestly to the layperson is super intimidating. And there's like all these things, and then you think you figured it out, and then you learn about different qualities of vitamin. Like it's been described to me that I need about a thimbleful of information on any one topic. And this is not a thimbleful topic. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of depth. So how do people get started, and how can we take away, it's like accounting. Like accounting by itself is not actually that difficult. The concepts aren't that hard. The vocabulary is kind of hard to learn. Does that make sense? And I find is maybe the same thing in this world of functional medicine. There's a vocabulary to it that to me is kind of intimidating, and figuring out where to start, what tests make sense. If I get that back, how do I react to it? Like, how does somebody who says, look, I know the way that our healthcare system is not necessarily set up to make me healthy. It's set up to keep me from being sick or to get me better once I am. So where do you start?
I look at every person as a puzzle, and each of our puzzles are very unique. Now we have some common pieces to the puzzle, but there's so much that is personal and unique and tailored to the individual. So I used to start putting pieces in the puzzle, and then I would test as needed. So I would do this extensive health history and nutrition history and lifestyle and all the things, and start putting the pieces of the puzzle. And those are very important pieces. That hasn't changed. Then I would cherry pick tests. A lot of that with my in-person business, that's Integrative Wellness Center in Pennsylvania that I sold. A lot of those tests I would just choose as needed based on the information I got. And some of that was just to save my clients and patients money, because a lot of some functional medicine practitioners will run a slew of tests, and it'll be to the tune of thousands of dollars. And truly, that's not right either, in my opinion, because those tests change. When you change one thing in the body, all the other things have a ripple effect. So you can't work on 5 tests at one time. You can't. So you would be taking so many supplements you wouldn't even eat. My system now is different than it used to be. I used to just do 1 or 2, and I felt like that was not complete information until I started getting a bigger picture. So now I look at some very specific tests. One is a gut test. Another one is called an OAT test, which looks at metabolites that tells us what's going on from a detoxification standpoint and vitamin deficiencies and that kind of thing. Then if needed, I'll also add on a hormone test or potentially a food sensitivity test, but that can change once you start healing the gut. So if you do it all at once, you're kind of wasting that person's money, because if it changes after you heal the gut, we kind of want it down the road and see if there's anything residual that you need to deal with. You start with the big picture of what's happening in your life. What are your symptoms? Those tell us a lot. What is your health history? What's your nutrition history? What's your trauma history? All those things go into the puzzle or the ball of wax. And then you add on a couple very specific tests that help us to dial it in and personalize then the plan or the protocol with the person.
Yeah, I think that does make sense. I think in my situation, like I think I feel good. But do I was sort of one of my questions. Like maybe I've assimilated to the way that my body feels in a way that I'm not noticing. So some of what I wanted to do as I started dipping my toe in the water with this was just to get a baseline of like, hey, I know that as I start getting to the season of life in perimenopause and like, I don't know what's going to happen, but just having baselines makes sense for me to kind of know where I'm starting from. The thing I want to give people through this line of questioning is I think it can feel very obtuse out there in the world of where do I start? And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is sort of like if your house is a mess, it doesn't matter what room you start cleaning, just pick one. I got like just decision fatigue, I think, of like, okay, yeah, I can like mail order this poop test. Maybe I should do that. There's like this sensitivities thing. I could do that. I could go to a functional doctor that my friend went to and get my labs done. And I'm like, hey, I'm moving fast. There's lots of people. I don't have time for 1,000 appointments. And so I either freeze and don't do anything, or because I'm an achiever, I do all of it. And then when I do all of it, you're even like put into more decision fatigue because it's like, I don't know. I want to be healthy. I want to do right by my body, but it has to work in the context, as we talked about before we push record here, in the rest of my life. So if that's where somebody is at, they're in a busy household, it's crazy, but they're like, I've got to make sure that I'm doing right by myself. Where to start for that person?
Okay. What I recommend you do is you find somebody who you trust. Look at people online or whatever. Find someone you trust who that's what they do for a living. You're not doing your own taxes, right? Why would you? There's somebody who knows exactly what you should be doing. There is an order to it. Yes, the poop test is important. That's one of the main 3 that I run because it tells us what's going on in the gut. But it's important in context with other things going on. So when we try to, even myself, when I try to DIY it, I know what I'm doing, but it's kind of weird on yourself because you're like, that's not a big deal. But that's because we downplay our own things because we're busy and we're doing things for other people and for ourselves and our companies. So it's most beneficial to have an experienced set of eyes taking a look with goals in mind. Okay, here's your baseline. This is great. This tells us where we are. We want to go here. How do we get here? And then that person develops the roadmap for you to get from here, which is not bad. But either you want to stay consistent and stay where you are health-wise, or there are a couple things you can dial in that gets you even somewhere else that you thought, oh, this is even better. I didn't even know this was possible.
Help us be wiser, Lisa. If we're going to go out and find people that we think look good on the outside, what are good questions to ask? What does someone experienced know to ask that maybe when you're at the beginning of the journey, you just don't know? Because I'm going to look at pictures and probably see if they have the vitality that I'm wanting. Those would be things that, again, I'm just sort of making it up. But are credentials important? Years of experience? How do you think about that?
So yes and no. Credentials matter in one sense and not in another sense. So it matters that that person is passionate. So like you said, you're looking at them and you're seeing, are you really passionate about this? Credentials in the sense of what kind of training have you done in functional medicine, holistic health? What kind of experience has that person had? And you have to be a little careful. There are people who will say they have experience that they don't. In the town I moved from, someone started brand new in my field and said that she had helped hundreds of people around the world. I'm like, wow. In 6 months, that's a pretty tall order, so you just have to be careful because people will say things. So you look at reviews, you look at what they're posting, you look at their website. Are they certified in functional medicine, or what is their education? Do they have master's degrees? That doesn't matter. You're looking for some combination of, do they have master's degrees, or do they have a doctorate, or do they have a functional medicine certification? Did they used to be a chiropractor and they pivoted to this? Were they a dietitian or a nutritionist? Were they something else in the community, the medical community, and they decided to pivot to this because they're passionate? And often what I look for is, what is their backstory? Did they have almost everyone who's really passionate in this field has a story that they have been through health, some pretty dramatic health things, and they've walked themselves through it the hard way. And it's taken them a long time and lots of practitioners until they put it all together. And now they have something proprietary that is really effective. So I look at those things. And then the other thing I look at is, what are they charging you for what you're getting? So if out of the gate, they say, we're going to run 5 different functional medicine tests, well, that's overkill. 3's good. 2 or 3, that's good to start with the ability to order more as needed. But out of the gate, you need to get your foundational answers first. Start working on those, see what shifts, and then go from there.
I want to take a quick moment to thank my partners at Share Your Genius. For the past 4 years, they have been an incredible part of my journey behind the microphone. Share Your Genius is a content and podcast production agency that helps leaders and brands bring their message to life. So whether you're trying to find your voice, develop a content strategy, or get your leader behind a microphone, they're going to help you make it simple, strategic, and impactful. What are the biggest challenges you see your clients or patients have when they're getting started or trying to implement? Like, what gets in the way?
Oh, yeah. Life gets in the way and decision fatigue gets in the way. And a couple things. So it depends on the person. Different people. Some people are just hard chargers. Some people come in and they say, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And they do it. And that's that. Everything else be damned. Like, I'm staying the course. But then some people are like, well, I got a vacation, or I got the kids coming home, or I work really long hours. And I'm a mom and a wife, and I work long hours out of the home. And then I'm still doing the cooking, but my time is this much when I get home and my energy is less. So real things in life, it just depends on the person. And then some people, this is really interesting. Some people, just like New Year's resolutions, they start out of the gate and they're going strong. And in a month, their follow-up consultation, they're like, I feel great. This works. Like, it's changing my life. Then in 2 months, they're like, well, I kind of fell off the wagon. I got tired of doing it. And sometimes that's an identity thing. There's some self-talk involved there that says, I'm just not motivated. I'm not driven. I'm lazy. And those are not truthful, but they've been ingrained in the brain as patterns. And those we need to unpack and then and address and rewire. So that, no, that's not your identity. You're not stuck there.
I can relate with being a very energetic starter and not always quite a passionate finisher, for sure. I have found one of those areas where ultimately there's like a cosmetic result in that your skin looks better and you feel better, but it is about little decisions over long periods of time that are very sustainable is the name of the game here. This is not Botox and fillers, It's not a convenience thing. I have had to look at and be like, I want to be healthy for a long period of time. This is me being kind to my 64-year-old self. This is me being kind to my future self so that I've laid a lot of really good groundwork instead of waiting for some kind of a crash in my body or a bunch of adrenal fatigue, or I don't know, and the discipline of that is not my natural wiring.
Yeah.
And so I do think you have to get to a place where you're like, I'm taking this seriously and I've got to put some traps in place so that it remains that.
And to also be gracious with yourself, knowing that perfection is an illusion. It just doesn't exist. So to know, you know what? Okay, I fell off. I love the saying that says, well, I blew it for lunch today. So I blew it with my diet today. I don't prescribe diets, but let's just say I blew it. So that means I just might as well eat whatever I want for the rest of the week. Is like saying I dropped my cell phone. I might as well just stomp on it. You can just pick it up. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
And you didn't necessarily blow it. You chose to have pizza and Coke for lunch. It's not a big deal. Is it what you wanted to do? Maybe not. But does it matter in the long run? It really doesn't. You can go home and make a beautiful salad and have some grilled chicken and throw a sweet potato on there, and you can pick the phone back up and move on. I think with that freedom, when we stop like self-shaming, we let ourselves take a deep breath and go, it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. It's a big deal if I do it for the next 3 months. Then, okay, my trajectory is going the opposite way that I wanted to. But now and then, no, it's not. And I used to, so for years, I taught a 13-week weight loss program that I wrote, and it was amazing. And people got because it addressed more than food. It addressed all the things, stress and sleep and hormones and lifestyle and all self-talk. And I found that often it would go over a holiday like Thanksgiving, right? And people would be like, well, I would say, okay, Thanksgiving's coming up in 2 weeks. What are you going to do? Are you going to eat the pumpkin pie or are you not? And people would look at me like deer in the headlights, like, is this a trick question? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And I'm like, of course you're going to eat the pumpkin pie. Thanksgiving comes once a year. You're going to do all the things. You're just going to do maybe not like the big plate you did all in the years past. You're going to start with smaller servings of everything. You're going to decide what you want to have seconds of because it only comes once a year. Same with a birthday or Christmas or whatever.
But I also think that can become an excuse because we are in a Hallmark world where there's like not 21 days that can go by without something needing to be celebrated. And I have had to learn that because I love to be fun and have fun and to kind of decide which ones are my holidays, so to speak, and which ones can I go and have fun, be fun, but those aren't necessarily my holidays to indulge in.
That's a good point too, because, I said that as a blanket statement and it doesn't work in two situations. One is just like what you said, is if everything's a holiday and everybody's birthday needs to be celebrated and all the things. And the other is there are some people who say, I'm all or nothing. And I can't be that person who has 3 squares of dark chocolate at 3 p.m. and then that satisfies me and I'm done. I need the whole bar and then I need the ice cream on top of it. So we have to know ourselves. That's where we really personalize it. Because if it's someone who says I'm all or nothing, well, then what we have to do is provide other options. And this is the same even with, the every holiday situation that you brought up is find your substitutes that let you feel not deprived, but that still fit into your framework of these are still my healthy choices, but it allows me to feel like I'm having something special when everybody else is eating cake and ice cream, but it isn't necessarily that. I have a recipe I love for almond flour chocolate chip cookies, and I use stevia sweetened chocolate chips, the Lily's brand. They're really low sugar. They don't have flour. They have almond flour in them. I'll make a big batch of those when there's something special going on. And then we have to be gluten-free in my family, but it gives us something special that, I'm still enjoying dessert. I'm just not enjoying the same thing, but I'm still in the celebration.
My silly one, I go to a lot of events for work and personally, and I love that. I love to get dressed up and go places. And I love to hold a glass. Like I love to have something to hold. It's like social. And so like holding nothing feels very weird. And so I have learned putting club soda in a wine glass with no ice gives me the same sensation as a white glass, like a glass of white wine. I don't actually really need the wine part like at all. Yeah. But the glass is very feminine. I like the whole literally, it's like I had wine all night long, and I have learned it's so silly. It's like tactile. It makes me feel connected to the experience in the way that I want to. And it's just club soda. Like, who cares? So I have learned to just kind of be a little bit picky and order it like that. Like, I want a club soda, no ice, and a wine glass. And that's how I'm going to do my evening. So it's like silly, but it's helped me be relevant to the environment without feeling like I've got this glass with all this ice on it that gets wet. And then I have a napkin around it and it's like sweating. I hated all that.
Yes.
Again, it's so stupid, but it's like how I've solved for the fact that I want that to be my life. I don't want to say I don't want to not go.
That's an ideal example. It's that thing. It's figuring out those things for us each individually that says, I don't have to restrict. I just need to shift. What am I choosing? But I still get to choose. And I still get to have fun.
So actually, Lisa, you mentioned your kids and the cookies. I'd love to know, as you were raising your kids and you have all of this knowledge and context for functional health and nutrition, what was important for you to teach them as they're launching into the world of college and pizza at 2 a.m? That's part of it sometimes. what's important for them foundationally for you, and how do we think about that in our own families and their education with nutrition and understanding their bodies?
Yeah, I got lots of pushback when they were growing up, because I remember one of my kids saying, when do we get to be normal? And I was like, hey, normal's overrated. You get to be normal when you're 18. Until then, we're doing it this way. But the things that the big rocks in the jar that I put in when they were kids was that we really focused on real food, not a lot of processed, we didn't do tons of different chips and candies and sodas. And so not the ultra processed foods, not that we never did them. We did. Even now, do I buy potato chips? I do. I have potato chips around for whoever wants them, but I buy Siete brand that uses avocado oil, and I know every ingredient, and then it's a treat. So it's not like we didn't do treats, but I was very selective about what those would be. We primarily focused on whole foods, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then our snacks would still be they will still laugh about this. When I was making dinner and they may be watching a show so I could get dinner going, or they might be playing a game or whatever, I would always take them these little bowls of cut up vegetables, and they would eat them because that's what they knew. But they also had snack foods. I was just really careful about knowing when I would read the ingredients, some really good rules of thumb, whether it's for a family or whether it's for just one person individually. Make sure that you know all the ingredients in the ingredient list. If there are chemical names in there that are this long and they're all consonants with a couple vowels sprinkled in there, if you don't know what they are or how to pronounce them, don't eat them. They're not food, and they're not good for your body. Your body knows exactly what to do with protein, carbohydrates, fats, water, vitamins, minerals, knows what to do. But when you start throwing all these toxins and chemicals and things in that the body was never meant to process, oftentimes those things will get stored in our fat cells. The body will try to break them down, but sometimes the body just stores them. And so then we're carrying more toxins in our body that's being sequestered away. That was my big focus. And then the other thing that I focused on was making sure they got protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because nothing spells meltdown like giving kids pancakes and syrup at 8 a.m. By 10 a.m., there's fighting, there's crying, there's all the things are falling apart. So yeah, you can have your pancakes, but I want you to have eggs with that, or I want you to have one egg and a piece of sausage with that. I want you to have some kind of protein that's going to keep that blood sugar from spiking and crashing and all of the things that go with crashing blood sugar that nobody wants in their house.
I have learned my kids will eat what they can see and reach. It's just like we do. You walk in and you're hungry, whatever they can reach, they'll eat. And so being thoughtful about when they get home from school, having our nanny or whoever put out fresh veggies and fruit. If they can see it, if they can grab grapes, they will grab grapes. They will do that over chips if it's just more accessible. That's what I have found. And we have all girls. I have this thing about foods being off limits and restriction, just being thoughtful about that in their relationship with food. It's very powerful to say it's accessible, but I could choose, I don't have to have it. So that's a little bit of a side thing on it not being eradicated from our household, because I want them to be able to be around it and be like, yeah, that's a treat. That's cool that's there every single day. I don't need to have it every single day. So
I completely agree with that. And because I was always afraid of restricting things and then causing there to be tension with certain foods and then some disordered eating choices, that was always a concern of mine too. So I do remember when my kids were smaller, people would be like, oh, I know what you do. I bet your kids never eat candy. And I would say I bet my kids eat more candy than most kids. We always did have candy, but I would know, again, if it was chocolate, I bought organic chocolate. It's not perfect, but it's better. I would buy, did we do s'mores? Yeah, we would do s'mores in the summertime with a fire pit. I didn't want to restrict either, because I figured when they would get out of the house, first of all, they might need to go wild and try all the things they couldn't have. So I didn't want to do that. Secondly, I didn't want to put those unhealthy, restrictive thoughts that, this is bad. I'm bad if I eat this food, because those are hard things to dig up and root out of your life once they're in there.
You were saying now that your kids are at college, there's been some things that you think about
Yeah. So the protein thing has served them so well. One kiddo is off campus, so she's cooking for herself, and one kiddo's in the dorms. And they both are like, yeah, no, I have to have my protein in the morning. They get to choose whatever that is, what that looks like. They both are like, no, I feel so much better if I get protein at breakfast, protein at lunch, protein at dinner. I'm just even. My energy's good. I think clearer. It's really cool how that is carried over. And now they both laugh because they're like, ugh, what have you done to us? Like, we lecture our friends about what they should be eating for breakfast. Like, oh no, you don't have any eggs in that. You got to get some protein. They're like, we're like these little parents. And I said, no, your friends are going to thank you for that. Surely they'll be thankful in the long run.
They will feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yes. I always like there to be just like something really relevant and actionable. And so we're recording this on a Monday morning. Our family had a massive weekend. Our daughter got baptized. It was so special. It was tons of family in. We had like 70 people at our house last night. And as people do, they stay, which we love so much. And so you wake up Monday, you're like, whew, I got to get through the day. So what I want to do is kind of like drink coffee all day long and have a bagel and some sugar, because that's what my body is telling me that I want. But in a day like today, like, use me as the patient. If I was calling you, Lisa, and we're working together, and it's like, hey, how do I set myself up for success on a day like today when my body needs to do the day? I need to. It's Monday. We've got things I need to do, but it's tired. How do I respect that and fuel it well and set myself up for as good a day as I can have on a day like today? Because busy households, this is how it rolls sometimes. So what's your advice?
So the first thing I ask, say you're my client, Tiff, and I'd say, do you like protein shakes? Do you have any at home? Do you like them? If you do, I would say make it easy on yourself. Make sure it's a good, clean one. I coach people on how to figure that out. Like, what's a clean one? Don't just go to the big box store and buy them. They're full of junk. Right now, I'm using one called Aura Organics. It's ORA Organics. Okay. It's super clean. I love it. Another great option is Truvani. Vani Hari, who is the food babe, she has her own line, Truvani, Truvani. Okay. Very clean. Those are two great ones. I have probably 4 other ones that I really like as well, but I always have them on hand. And so do my kids and my husband. I don't love protein shakes. Full disclosure, I don't. I'd rather eat food every day of the week. But on a morning like this morning, like your morning, and my morning has started out of the gate pretty, there's a lot on the plate today. It's just simple. And I promise you, I feel better all day long. Because if you get the right amount of protein in the morning, your cravings just come right down. The cravings are often driven because we have these blood sugar spikes and crashes. Then your brain is saying, I need fuel. And the quickest, cheapest fuel is sugar and fat. So it drives those cravings, right? For sugar and fat, simple carbohydrates and fat. And so even, great example, you coming off this big weekend, your brain is saying, I need sugar and fat. A bagel turns to glucose pretty quickly, right? When you eat a bagel and then say some cream cheese or something on it, that's comforting and it's fuel. So I wouldn't say don't have it if you really want it, but I would say make sure you add some protein on with it. So for me, busy morning, I get a protein drink in, or I'll make scrambled eggs a couple times a week and I'll throw feta in or kale, some kind of green arugula, but I'll make like a double batch and I'll put half of it in the fridge and I'll nuke the rest another day. Just super fast, makes it simple. And then I have some really good recipes. One is like egg bites, like the Starbucks egg bites, but you can make them you can make them at home and freeze them, pop them out and grab those on the road. So my first question for people is, what do you like? If someone says, I hate protein drinks, then I'm not going to tell them to start with a protein drink. I'm going to give them food options that are readily available that they can grab and go and run out the door.
So on a tired day, start with protein.
Yep.
What else do we need to do today?
Yeah. So I would start with protein. I would enjoy that coffee or tea to get the brain waking up.
Get things going. Check.
Yep. Get things going. Yeah, I would. And then as you plan out your day, I would plan breaks into your day. So if you have a very busy day, if it's a day that you're working at your office for long stretches, make sure to set a timer on your phone, get up every hour and walk around. make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're getting good filtered water, and then make sure you're getting that blood moving every hour.
That's a good idea. And it would also just give me something to look forward to. Like when you're sluggish, it's like, okay, I'm going to move my body for 7 minutes and come sit back down.
Exactly. Whatever it is, whether it's a quick walk, whether it's some squats, whatever it is. I would also recommend you throw a little deep breathing in there because that's going to bring the cortisol down. The cortisol is that main stress hormone, and deep breathing. This is so cool. There are in the bottom of you can't see me, the bottom of our lungs. So our lungs go from pretty much our collarbone way down to our lower abdomen. And just in the very bottom, there are specific oxygen receptors that aren't anywhere else in your lungs. And when the oxygen hits that very bottom part of your lungs, it switches you out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So it brings that cortisol down immediately. It's a biochemical hack. It's a biohack. So I would say make sure to work a little bit of deep breathing, even if it's only 10 breaths of box breathing, it's effective. So protein, get your coffee or your tea, get some activity in there just every hour, some deep breathing, some good hydration. And then what do you love? If you love some kind of music, I would at lunchtime or at some point in the day, turn on a song or two you like that'll re-energize you. And then have something to look forward to at the end of the day, whether it's having that club soda and hanging out, debriefing your day with your husband, or you like to cook together, just something to look forward to at the end of the day that you're grateful for. And then recap what one thing from the day that you're grateful for.
Well, it feels like the best reason to be tired. So I feel it was a really special weekend. And so thanks, Lisa, I'm going to do those things. I do feel like I was very aware driving in. I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to Lisa today. All the things that my tired self wants to do is going to feed it's going to give food to the wrong things. And so how do I create this pattern interrupt for myself and say, nope, how do I feed even my tired self so that I can, I don't want to say like be my best today, but like give myself the greatest opportunity to have a day that I'm not fighting myself. So thanks for that advice. Lisa, I know you're starting an online practice. And so if someone is at a place where they're beginning their functional health journey, how can someone find you and better get access to your help and some of your advice as well?
Absolutely. So the first way is through Lisa Smith Wellness. It's lisasmithwellness.com. That website is just being launched. So if you see anything glitchy, hang in there. It'll get cleaned up, but we're just working through it. Just started last week. So it's coming together. Just still has a little bit of a ways to go. So the ways to work with me will be on a wait list right now until I get everything laid out and get the foundation down. But I already have the programs and packages. It's just putting all the pieces together so it's done well. And then the second way, just for great advice, much like this fantastic podcast that you host, I have the Pretty Well podcast. And the mission of Pretty Well is to give, in any given episode, to give listeners at least one thing or multiple things they could take away. And you said it earlier, Tiffany, do small steps consistently and they're life-changing. So the mission is every single episode would have at least one small step someone could take away today that could be life-changing if they did it consistently going forward.
Awesome, Lisa. Well, thank you. Thanks for blessing my day with this conversation and giving me some ways that I can show up a little better for myself, which means I can show up better for the people around me, which is really, I think, the goal in life. And excited for this next step of your journey. No doubt success will follow you. Before we go, I want to challenge you. What's one small choice that you can make today that will make your future self proud? Whether it's adding protein to breakfast or just choosing to breathe deep at a red light, Lisa reminds us all that it all stacks up. If this hits home, forward to a friend or leave a review. Let's make this season the one where we finally take our health seriously on our own terms. Until next time, keep living your life of and. Thanks for listening.